Igniting, inspiring, and evoking the fire within.
One of the things that we often don't do in life is we don't spend enough time paying attention to the gifts that are given to us every day. When the content you share resonates with somebody on the other side and they do something, they take an action, thank them some way or another or recognize that they took an action. And she was right, by the way. That present was a present to my son and myself, not to her. And so that's when I said to her, listen, if you book it, right? Because my expertise in time is not about the minutia of how to book the travel, where do we go, how do we make sure it all works. So I said, if you book it, I'll go. But if I'm going to pick one person, I'm going to pick Mom. I mean, we grew up poor and we didn't know that hot dog night every Tuesday or sloppy Joe night every Wednesday meant that we didn't have money to buy anything else. As kids, we just thought, hey, that's pretty cool. We get to eat what we want. And Mom always left the impression that you could do whatever you want. You just put your mind to it.
You're listening to the What's Your Inspiration podcast with Fox Beyer.
Hello, and welcome to episode 28 of the What's Your Inspiration podcast. A very special guest on today. I met him last week at Boxwood Coffee at an open mic. He is a singer-songwriter from the Moorestown, New Jersey area, currently preparing to record a demo of acoustic-style music. He is Ben Rhodes. Ben, how are you today?
I'm doing really well, Fox. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure to have you on. I just felt like when we met last week, and you know your material is great, and the fact that you're going to be soon recording a demo, I thought this would be a great time to introduce you more to the world because you are one talented individual.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
You bet. To quote you via somebody else, quote, we are all a little weird, and life's a little weird. And when we find someone whose weirdness is compatible with ours, we join up with them and fall into mutual weirdness and call it love. Where'd you get that?
That is a Dr. Seuss quote.
Dr. Seuss quote. Are you a Dr. Seuss fan?
Not particularly, but for some reason that quote always just kind of stuck out to me. About weirdness, everybody uses weird as kind of a negative word, and I've just always thought that that's the interesting part of life is the weirdness. That's what sets you apart from other people.
I agree. I've grown up with the belief that the worst thing I could be is normal, and
yeah, I agree.
Far from it. Far from it.
Yeah.
Relating the weirdness to music, what is, if this makes any sense to you at all, this first question, what is so weird about music that has allowed you to continue to love it to this day?
I think it just goes back to that not being normal is, when it comes to music, people are just constantly trying to progress it and try something different. The worst kind of feeling I can get when I'm writing a song is when I write it or I'm writing a song and I realize it sounds exactly like that new Ed Sheeran song that's out, or, a John Mayer song I've listened to 25 times. So I'm always just trying to get something a little bit different, different from what I've done in the past, different from what other people have done. And that can be challenging, but when it comes out and it's totally novel and it's kind of your thing, that's the best feeling in the world.
I agree. And I think maybe instead of maybe weird, I think the word is unique. You want to be unique. You don't want to be one sheep in a group of sheep. You just want to be you want to be yourself. You certainly have a particular style. Breaking off of that, more than anyone else, who influenced you to go into the music business? And within the business, how are you a reflection of them?
Who influenced me? It all kind of started in high school, with friends, I think. That was my first real influence is, I had never really been interested in a whole lot of music going into high school. And, I kind of got into high school, met a couple kids who kind of became my best friends, and they introduced me to classic rock and convinced me to learn the bass so that they had a bass player in their band. And that's really what started it all. You know, my family hadn't really pushed me into music. I was always into sports growing up. But then having friends who, you know, it really just started as I want to hang out with these guys, like, what can we do? And that turned into me learning the bass. And that turned me into wanting to learn to sing and play guitar, and eventually write music. And then, you know, I went to college and same thing, you know, everybody just wanted to play music and, you know, hang out and write together. And I met, you know, a bunch of people through that. And I used to recruit from the Montclair Music School there, which is a really good school that I was not able to get into, nor did I really have any interest in getting into. But, you know, they had a bunch of talented musicians there. And then, you know, they really influenced me.
Did your mother influence you at all?
I don't know musically, but
Okay.
you know, she definitely always, you know, supported me, whether it was sports, because that was what I was interested in growing up. And then musically, you know, she supported me. She, you know, paid for guitars, paid for music lessons, paid for, or helped pay for some recording in the past. And then, you know, same with my dad, who, you know, played the stand-up bass for a bunch of years. And, you know, he loved when I wanted to learn the bass, even though it was the bass guitar. And so, you know, they supported me the whole way, and just love hearing me sing.
Gotcha. So you do have musical lineage within your family.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I guess a break-off question from that, Ben, would be, even though maybe musically you're not influenced by your parents, how are you a reflection in the music business of your parents? What kind of values do you bring in from your parents to music?
You know, I've always said my mom is very uncompromising. You know, she from day one has said, like, if you're going to go after something, you're going to commit to it. You know, you're going to get lessons, you're going to show up. And that I've kind of taken to heart is when I decide to do something, I feel like I'm very in it. And when it comes to music, you know, I started writing my own music and singing and playing out. And then it kind of came out that, like, okay, I wasn't the greatest singer. And, you know, that was a flaw. And even though I sounded good and, like, I could probably make a recording and it sounded okay, you know, I think my mom was the first one that was like, you should get some voice lessons. And so she started paying for voice lessons, you know, which were really expensive. And then through those voice lessons, I just progressed like I had really never progressed before. And, you know, really just made a lot of improvements to my voice and, you know, got to that point where it was more, okay, I can play out, you know, I could even get paid to play out. You know, people would pay to listen to me. People would stop their conversation in a coffee place and actually listen to what I'm singing. So yeah, I would have to say that, you know, that uncompromising nature, a lot of commitment, just trying to be the best that you can possibly be. And, you know, that's the goal, is to be your personal best. You know, you don't have to be as good as John Mayer. You have to be as good as you can possibly be. And so I always really took that to heart.
It seems like you have, because the one time that I saw you play, you play with the conviction and passion that, I mean, everyone's going to notice. When we were at Boxwood Coffee, a local spot here, you really had the attention of the entire room. And one of the comments you made when you first got up was you weren't used to having everybody totally focused on you, and that was a pretty good feeling. And you definitely stole the show there, for sure. You seem to be the kind of guy that unlike most, instead of preferring to do something, you fully decide to do it and you commit to it. So that is awesome.
No, thank you.
You bet. Bet it is time for our game called What, Which, and Where. So I'll read you a line from maybe a movie, maybe a book, maybe a song, and let's see if you can guess it.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
You bet. Here we go. The first one goes like this, quote, "And I can't change even if I tried."
Oh, that's Same Love by Macklemore.
Same Love,
Yeah.
Macklemore. You know, you you wrote to me that this song really speaks to you. What does this song, Same Love by Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, represent to you?
A couple things. First, what the purpose of the song is about equality, which, obviously is, a very important thing in this world, and is just a really influential song that these guys will, put this into their music as opposed to, singing about a breakup, like most people do, like I do a lot. We're like, let's think of something different that people don't usually write music about. And there aren't a whole lot of songs that actually try to do that. And I think when I hear songs like that, I start to move away from writing about a breakup or a girl, and start to try to think of some new things to write about and to talk about, and some new ways to do that. And that can be really, really challenging to write a song about that. Putting it into words and words that sound good together with a topic like that is so challenging. And I just think they did a really, really nice job with it.
I agree. Listen to it. And next question for you would be, how do you go about writing a song? Are you someone that creates the music and melody first and then goes to the lyrics? So you go lyrics first, music and melody? How does it usually happen for you?
Yeah, so I usually, I write the chord progression first, and melody first before the lyrics. The lyrics are the toughest part for me. Um, so that's kind of the way it always came about. I never really tried to write a song when I first started writing. I was just kind of playing and, playing different chords. And then eventually I found some chords that sounded good together. And then I typically just kind of sing random lyrics or even just hum a melody. And then once I kind of have a melody going that I like, I start to move into like a chorus or, a pre-chorus and start to think of some melodies there. And then some lyrics start to form in my head typically. But I usually, have the melody down for the most part, and the chord progression down for the most part before I start putting lyrics to it. And then, once it's ready for some lyrics, I pop out that computer and start writing, right on Microsoft Word, and get those lyrics down. I do a lot of recording as well. So I'll typically leave like, my photo booth camera going while I'm doing this. Just because in the past I've forgotten melodies or lyrics that I like. So I just make sure everything's recorded. But yeah, that's how it starts. It's just, it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of, okay, these chords sound good together. Oh wait, that's a John Mayer song. Okay, let me try something else. And then, try these chords. Wait, that sounds like a song I wrote a year ago. Okay, let's try something else. And it's just a lot of error and a lot of not finding anything. And then you find some chords that really sound nice together. That's unique and it can be yours. And then you see if that can kind of progress into a full song. And it doesn't always, it usually doesn't. I try a million different things that don't work before I find something that I like. And then, when I find something I like, it'll usually, turn into a song. And it might be a song that I end up playing out. It might be a song that isn't really the greatest, but I kind of have there on the back burner. But yeah, every once in a while, it produces a song that I really like and I think people will really be able to get into.
Got you. Getting into the mind of Mr. Ben Rhodes here on episode 28 of the What's Your Inspiration podcast. He is a singer-songwriter about to release a demo of his own acoustic style music. Question number 2 in What, Which, and Where. Quote from a book. Remember how you were made. Have no fear. Your individuality is saved.
Oh boy, I have no idea.
What does it sound like to you?
Say it one more time.
Remember how you were made. Have no fear. Your individuality is saved.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great quote, but I don't know what it's from.
I thought it was appropriate because of what we spoke of earlier. Being, you used the word weird. I used unique, and how we need to sort of stick to that. That's actually a quote from my book called Letter Kindling. It's a book of poetry, so I thought maybe the poem is called Individuality Saved.
Nice.
So
I like it a
thought
lot.
that would be appropriate.
Mhm.
But enough about me. This is about you. You're going to release a demo soon. Give us a little update on where you are in that process.
So right now I'm looking for an organization that'll record, be it a studio or a music school. I'm talking to some different people. I want to see what people have to say. I've recorded in the past, and it's a very expensive process. So I want to be a little bit more careful this time and find someone who I think will do a really good job with it. Also, I'm, just working on the 4 songs that I'm going to record and making sure they're down perfect and all the vocals are perfect. Like I said, the voice was kind of the last thing I learned. So, I've just been trying to perfect that so that I can get a really high quality recording out of this. But, it shouldn't be too much longer to start the recording process. I envision it not lasting more than a month or 2. Depending on, who the sound engineer is and how the process goes along.
Got you. And it's a particular process, and I think you're very good at it. And I want to show people right now that I want to show off your skills. It is time for you, and you've agreed to it, to play live here on the podcast. So do whatever you need to do to get ready.
Okay.
There you go.
I got everything set up. So
he grabs his axe and he takes a swig and he is ready to go.
Yep.
I want you to introduce everything and you can just go right ahead.
Okay. How's like the sound and stuff?
Sounds great.
Sounds good. Okay, cool. So this is a song called Keep Flowing. It's an original. It's gonna be on my demo. It's a song I wrote back in college, so it's a fairly old one. So I'm 27. I probably wrote this like 8 years ago or so.
8 years is not long to me.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the probably one of the older songs that I have on this demo. But it's it's a good one. It's kind of influenced by my roommate who used to say like the river keeps flowing. I don't know what it's from, but he used to always say that. And as I was writing this song, it kind of just fit right in there. So that's kind of the topic of the song. But it's just about how life keeps going when, you're down and, things aren't going so well. The river always keeps flowing, as my friend would say. So.
You got it.
All right, so this is Keep Flowing. Everyone needs some hope to survive. We all need a second chance, another try. Time will heal the wounds of our life. The waking up feels like a painful goodbye. Goodbye, it's all I dream, it's all I dream. Now I'm wondering where I go next to play this game of life. Took a chance to break what's wrong to me. The love who finally wants to hear my song. The river will always flow on. Sometimes I wanna get up or open my eyes. Just gotta stay inside, don't wanna look at the sky. Didn't play enough
too, and then I wrote all night. That night it's all I dream, it's all I dream. And now I'm wondering where I go next to play this game of life. Took a chance to read what's wrong, to meet a love who finally wants to hear my song. The river keeps flowing and I'll keep it going. Side by side, we're not all knowing. It makes our past mistake, and the pain go away. It's a stormy day. River keeps flowing, and I'll keep it going till the sun comes out again. Took a chance to break what's wrong, to meet a love who finally wants to hear that brand new catchy song. I don't wanna run away, I don't wanna break away, 'cause you know life will always keep flowing on. River will always flow on.
Ben Rhodes here on episode 28 of the What's Your Inspiration podcast. Singer, songwriter, about to release a demo of his own acoustic style music. And I hope that's one of the tracks that you're gonna lay down there shortly. Ben, thank you so much for that. That is just free tunes for everybody.
Yeah.
Free tunes. And again, name of the song, Keep Flowing?
Keep flowing.
Keep flowing. And that's great advice. I mean, you don't have but one choice but to keep flowing. So why not do it? I think relevant, appropriate, and just a good, flat out good song. I'm gonna say it, and I'm of the opinion, and I know many will be of that opinion. Ben, we know that not all heroes wear a cape. And we, in previous answers to me of some questions I gave you before the interview, you mentioned to me that you are a big Star Wars fan.
I'm a big Star Wars fan.
So my question to you, one of the final questions, is if you had a chance to take a 1-hour car ride with any Star Wars character you could, who would it be and why?
What a question. What a question. I think it'd have to be Princess Leia, and not because she's so pretty. She's a really inspiring character. The word hope comes up. It comes up in the very first movie in the title. And I love that word. It's a great word. And kind of the theme of Princess Leia is that there's always hope. Even in the darkest times of the Empire, Princess Leia said there's hope. And although we probably don't have to deal with anything quite as, difficult as the Empire, we all go through stuff, man. And I'd love to hear what Princess Leia had to say more about hope in our world, and that there's always hope, and there's always a future, and there's always solutions, and there's always ways to move forward.
Amen to that. There is always hope.
Yeah.
And a couple other questions. Who would you like to hear on an upcoming podcast?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. That's a great question.
Why, thank you. I actually stole it from a friend
Yeah.
in previous podcast. But
Yeah.
who would you like to hear and see in this case?
I mean, I'd love to, hear another musician, in the local area. I've been getting into the open mics, and there's a bunch of really talented people. So, I'd love to hear what someone else has to say about their music, and, kind of see how it compares to what I have to say, and see if the process is kind of the same, and then hopefully get to hear them too.
Okay, well, we'll be in touch, and if you have any names, fire my way. Ben, how can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me through, YouTube, Facebook. Just search Ben Rhodes Music on either. Should get you right to my page. You can also email me at brhodes22b@gmail.com. So that's BRHODES 22b@gmail.com. And I check my email regularly on my phone. I also check Facebook and YouTube. So multiple different routes to get in contact with me.
Great. Any upcoming gigs?
Just, an open mic most likely. Maybe tonight, this coming week. Also going to be playing with, your friend Ross, or not playing with him, but, playing at some point during his gig at the Washington House in Basking Ridge on the 11th. So I'm really looking forward to that. That should be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, Ross Griswold, we had him on, I believe it's episode 12.
There you go.
And Ben and Ross have started a musical relationship, I think, that will go on for a while. Excellent. Ben, this has been a blast. Thank you for playing live. You're spectacular, and all of the information you gave us about your influences and sort of why you play music. Great interview today. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
I'm glad. I'm glad we could do it on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, that's a great way to start the day.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
That will wrap up episode 28 of the What's Your Inspiration podcast. Ben and I will talk to you all later. Take good care.
You have been listening to the What's Your Inspiration podcast with Fox Beyer. Because impact on each other is the greatest currency you could ever have.
In the distance, geese bellow, a wholesome sight for this young fellow. An east wind moves the brush. Quiet now, ladies, time to hush. Glad I veered off on the red trail. Off I went, set sail. As I write a small mention about a little Sunday adventure, sitting here writing this song. On the surface, not much going on. Looking around in a writing fog over here at Bullfrog Pond. 2 times I came here in the past. Park was closed, gate cast. There was a sign, I stopped and stared. Said hikers beware of black bear. But now I'm in, 3rd time's a charm. Mama and cubs, I mean no harm. Enjoy this park and its beauty while I sit here on my booty. Sitting here writing this song. On the surface, not much going on. Looking around in a writing font over here at Bullfront Pond. Sitting here writing this song. On the surface, not much going on. Looking around in a writing font